Hey everyone, it's Chris here, and today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of having first aid skills when you're out on the trail. So during the week I was out doing a first aid training course. I'm one of the first aid officers in my workplace, so obviously it's a requirement for that anyway. But having first aid knowledge and training is incredibly useful, and it arms you with a set of skills to be able to provide critical help to people who may need it wherever you are, whether that's at home, at work, or just out in the community. When you're out in the wilderness, these skills become even more crucial because you could be in a very remote area where emergency services are not as readily accessible as they are when you're in cities or towns. Having the know-how to look after either yourself or someone else who is either sick or injured while you're waiting for emergency services to arrive when you're out on a hike could mean, in the most extreme circumstances, literally saving someone's life. If you're well prepared and sensible, hopefully the only injuries you'll ever have to deal with when you're out hiking is blisters and maybe some minor scratches and bumps. But when you're out in nature, unexpected things can happen, and it's important to be as best equipped as you can be with the right skills and knowledge to be able to provide first aid to someone that may need it when you're out on hikes. A while back I posted a video about the first aid kit that I carry and all of the items in that I carry with me on hikes, and I'll put a link to that up here. You should always carry at least a basic first aid kit with you on all your hikes. And further to that, you should know how to use every item that is in your first aid kit. There's no point in carrying something that you don't know actually how to use if you need to. But above just carrying a first aid kit with you, the best thing you can do is also to have the skills required to be able to treat a whole range of potential injuries or illnesses when you're out on hikes. I'm not going to talk in detail in this video about how you deal with specific situations that require first aid, but to give you an idea of the kind of things that you cover when you're doing a first aid course, you'll cover things that include things like CPR, treatment of wounds and controlling bleeding, dealing with heat stroke and hypothermia, treatment for burns and scalds, treatment for bites and stings, dealing with spinal injuries, bone fractures, strains and sprains, and a whole bunch of other things that could happen to someone for which first aid skills are going to be incredibly useful. To give you an idea of a situation that I've been in that did require first aid treatment, last year on the overland track, and I know I seem to keep coming back to this hike, but it was quite eventful. On the first day, it was raining heavily and there was a lot of wind, and we were hiking up to an area that was very exposed and was very wet and windy the whole day and quite cold as well. The friend that I was hiking with unfortunately had a wet weather jacket that just didn't stand up to the conditions that we had, and very soon after starting the hike she was starting to get quite wet and her jacket didn't provide a windbreak, so she was starting to get very cold. And it was further into the hike, all of her clothes had basically gone wet all the way through, and she was really starting to get extremely cold up on this high plateau that we were crossing, and was starting to actually have issues with maintaining her body temperature. So I realised that we were in a dangerous situation at that stage, and I knew that we just had to try and get down off that really exposed area. Fortunately, we weren't too far from the hut that we were heading to that night, but because of the way that her body temperature had been dropping, she was starting to become a little bit irrational and, was starting to just feel like she couldn't keep going. So I really just had to make sure that we were able to get down safely by just going back to basics with her and making sure that she was just putting one foot in front of the other and ensuring that she wasn't actually getting any worse. Fortunately, we got down to the warmth and safety of the hut, and there was actually a couple of rangers there who realised straight away that she wasn't in a good way. So we had to make sure that we, got her out of all of her wet clothes very quickly, into, a very warm sleeping bag, and basically she just had to rest and stabilise her core body temperature, which had dropped, and she was actually starting to become hypothermic by the time that we got to the hut. Fortunately, she made a recovery and stabilised within a few hours. It could have been very different if we were miles away from any type of shelter or other people. In that type of situation, we would have had to pitch the tent as an emergency shelter and signalled for help to potentially get rescued. Which leads me to the next point about ensuring that as part of your safety plan when you're going out hiking, that you have a way of being able to communicate regardless of where you are. And that may be either a personal locator beacon, which is what we were carrying on the overland track, or some type of a satellite phone or other device that allows you to communicate in areas where there's no mobile network coverage. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about all of this stuff to try and scare people off from hiking. If you're lucky, you probably will never even have to pull out your first aid kit or use your first aid skills when you're out on hikes. But just like having the right gear and having sufficient food and water is important, so too is the ability to help yourself or others if you face a situation when you're out on the trail that involves someone being sick or injured. So where can you go to do first aid training? There's a variety of organisations around the world, and it's just a case of searching for the organisations that provide those courses in your own country. Here in Australia, two of the well-known organisations that provide those courses are St John Ambulance and Australian Red Cross, and completion of a training course with these organisations will provide you with a nationally recognised certificate. Courses are generally 2 full days of training, and they involve a mixture of practical and theoretical training and assessment. Once you are certified, it's recommended that you then do refresher training at least once every 3 years, and for CPR every 12 months. There are also first aid courses that are specific to providing first aid in remote areas. I haven't actually done one of the remote first aid courses yet, but I definitely plan on doing that in the near future to uplift the current training that I have. Being armed with first aid skills will help you to be as best prepared as you can be when you're out on hikes, and give you peace of mind that you'll know what you need to do if you find yourself in a situation where you need to put those skills to use. So I hope you found this video useful. If you got anything out of it, hit the like button. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel yet, hit the subscribe button. And to be notified of any new videos as they come out on my channel, hit the little bell symbol as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you out on the trail next time.